Chapter 1 Afternoon Class. Class, this is called a river that flows with milk. Do you know what this cloudy whiteness is? Asked the teacher, pointing at a section that resembled a galactic belt, a blurry whiteness from the top to the bottom, and a large black star chart dangling from the blackboard. Campanella raised his hand. Soon 4 or 5 more hands shot up. Giovanni was about to raise his, but stopped. He was sure those were the stars he had read about in a magazine. But Giovanni had been drowsy in class every day. He had no time to read the book, and no book to read. He didn't feel he understood much. But the teacher was quick and caught him. "Giovanni, you know what this is, don't you?" Giovanni hopped up, but anyone who saw him standing there knew he couldn't answer. Zanelli, who sat in front of him, couldn't suppress his laughter when he turned to look. The flustered Giovanni blushed bright red. Again, the teacher asked, "If you observed the galaxy through a large telescope, what would you mainly see?" "Stars, of course," thought Giovanni, but couldn't bring himself to answer this question right away. The teacher soon became frustrated and looked at Campanella and called on him. "Campanella?" Campanella eagerly raised his hand, but hesitantly stood up, and in the end couldn't answer. Surprised, the teacher stared at Campanella for a moment and then pointed at the star chart. "All right, if you look at this dim white galaxy through a powerful telescope, you would see many small stars. Isn't that right, Giovanni?" Giovanni flushed and nodded as his eyes filled with tears. He knew the answer, and Campanella knew too. He read about galaxies in a magazine at Campanella's house. His father is a professor. When they finished reading the article, Campanella rushed to get a large book from his father's study and opened the page about the Milky Way. They stared for a long time at the beautiful photograph of a jet-black page filled with white dots. Although Campanella had not forgotten, he did not answer right away. Giovanni had to work in the mornings and afternoons. He went to school but didn't play rowdily with the others and barely spoke to Campanella. Aware of his friend's situation, Campanella did not answer on purpose, out of kindness. The teacher said, "Well, if you believe that this river in the sky is truly a river, each of these small stars is a cluster of sand or small pebbles in that river. And if you believe the river to be an immense flow of milk, then it would more closely resemble the Milky Way. That is, all of these stars are round, fine floating balls of fat in milk. If that's the case, my next question is, what are the waters of this river?" The answer is a vacuum in which light travels at a particular speed and where the sun and the earth float. We live in these waters of the Milky Way. Look in all directions from the waters of the Milky Way, and you can see many stars gathered together in the deep places where the bottom of the Milky Way is far away. This is exactly like when deep water looks bluer. Here it appears as a white blur. Now let's take a look at this model. The teacher pointed to a large two-sided convex lens containing many grains of twinkling sand inside. The Milky Way is formed like this. Each twinkling grain is believed to be a shining star, just like our sun. The sun is nearly at the center, and the earth is very close to it. At night, you are standing at this center and looking around inside this lens. There are few twinkling grains in this direction because the lens is thin. In other words, you see few stars. On the other hand, the glass is thick here and here, so you can see many twinkling grains, namely the stars. The distant ones look like dim white blurs. Well, this concludes today's discussion of the Milky Way. We're out of time. In the next science lesson, we'll discuss the size of this lens and the variety of stars inside. Tonight is the Milky Way Festival. Everyone should go outside and take a close look at the Milky Way. Now please put away your books and notes. The room filled with the sounds of desktops opening and closing, and books being stacked. A short time later, everyone stood at attention, bowed to the teacher, and left the classroom.